welcome to Storehouse Resourcing. Before jumping into a subscription that you know little about, we thought it would be good for you to have a sample overview of how our resources work. Each video features a free introduction of the offered training time. Usually, these are 30 to 60-second teasers that summarize a 10 to 12-minute video, and it gives viewers an overview of what they can expect. The short summary video is available free to anyone, but the 10 to 12-minute video and accompanying text resources are for subscribers only. This video serves as an illustration of the kinds of things that are available through Storehouse Resourcing. Most people who find themselves in a leadership and caring role in their faith community feel ill-equipped for the task at hand. Most pastors and staffs, if a church has a staff, are scrambling just to get the basics done. In church life, more energy seems to be devoted to the urgent rather than those things that are essential. So this training time is entitled, You Are Here, because most of us in a leading and caring role in the church are willing, but we are unsure how to best navigate. As a preacher, I feel inadequate and ill-equipped to preach without the core landmarks of my tradition. Pulpit, font, and table are reminders about what my preaching work is all about. They help me locate myself and stay anchored and grounded in my role. So we'll give you some essential landmarks for the work that you need to do as a leader and caregiver in your congregation. We're going to help equip you, empower you, encourage you as you serve in your local church setting. Brothers and sisters, you are here. So where are we? I still remember the trips my family used to take in the car. We would cross the state line, and usually one of our first stops was at a gas station where my dad would buy a folded up paper map. Navigating wasn't easy, but it was far easier than folding up that map again. But this is how we used to find our way. You'd open that map and you'd locate yourself within a wider world. You'd look for your destination, and then you would watch for signs and landmarks to guide you on your way. Well, navigation doesn't work that way anymore. Most of the time we navigate with computerized maps on our phone or in our cars. These devices tend to put us right in the center of our map and our experience. And I sometimes wonder if this feeds our tendency to put ourselves at the center of our world. When we navigate this way, a wider world is largely outside of our experience. We focus on ourselves and our destination, and that is about it. We tend not to think about what lies in between and where we are going. We just want to get there quickly. And when technology fails us, we are left frustrated. Some of us would like to fold our phone like we once tried to fold a map. So neither approach at navigating is perfect. Navigating in church life, whether it's volunteering or leading or in a caring role, is not going to be perfectly clear and efficient either. And we shouldn't be surprised when it does not go the way we would expect. So before we lay out some landmarks, let's acknowledge why we are even having this conversation. Much has changed in church life. Understandably, it's hard for us to get our bearings. I can think of at least 3 ways in which things are significantly different in one generation of trying to be the church. First, there was a time when the church institution and the church community was at the center of life. Even the church building was often at the center of town. In my tradition, it wasn't that long ago that there was a fixed order of service. There was one form of instrumentation and accompaniment. The pastor did everything, and church life was about worship and education and marrying and burying people. Today, most of that has changed. Positively, there are more ministries, there are more and different kinds of volunteers, and there are more opportunities for community and connection. No matter how we think or feel about these changes, most of us would acknowledge that it's a different world, it's a different church. Second, most churches are experiencing shrinking membership. Many churches don't even talk about membership anymore, but instead think about attendership. It used to be common or normal that someone was born and then married and lived their life and then was buried in the same community of faith. Today, however, people are not monogamous with one church or denomination or tradition. Today, many of my colleagues and I often joke that pastors sometimes stay longer than our parishioners. That's definitely different than it used to be. And last, people's lives are busier than ever before. There's more vying for our time and our choices and our opportunities. My parents' generation worked full-time with 9-to-5 jobs, and I remember my dad coming home for lunch. I don't know anyone who works this way anymore. Most people don't have fixed hours, and they certainly don't come home. Young people travel the globe without thinking about it. Middle-aged and seniors are more mobile than ever. And whether it is sports or entertainment, the weekend is no longer reserved the way it once was. A dear rabbi friend of mine once said, "When we lost the weekend, we lost the culture." So it's no wonder why our congregations are more anxious, and it's hard to know where we are and how to navigate. So we want to give you 5 basic landmarks for caring leadership in your community. Number 1, we want to encourage you to put Jesus into practice. And what we mean by this is that after Jesus left the disciples in resurrection and ascension, he did not leave us alone, but he left his Spirit so that God's people would continue the work and the ministry of Jesus. This is why he said, "You will do even greater things than me." We are the only version of Christ that some people will ever know. If you read the end of Matthew 25, it reminds us that Christ intimately connected to those who help and those who are being helped. Church ministry involves a ministry of presence. Jesus joined us in our places of need, and in turn, we follow in his footsteps and show up, and we are present in the lives of others. Put Jesus into practice. Landmark number 2, leaders are led. Henry Nouwen once had the wonderful insight that Christian leadership in the future is going to be faced with the challenge of these 3 great temptations. The temptation to be important, the temptation to be successful, the temptation to be powerful. So instead of having an overly powerful view of leadership that is built on getting things done and taking charge, the work of good Christian leaders is less about strong leading and more about being a person who is led. Nouwen regarded the full-time job of leadership of paying attention to these themes when they show up in us, and then emptying ourselves of these things. Nouwen reminds us to check our motives as Christian leaders. Leaders are led. Landmark number 3, learning to care, not cure. So leaders don't need to be successful, but what they need to be is faithful. Good leaders care for people and for the organization. Many of us like to get things done and fix things, but most ministry with people is not about offering advice or problem solving. It's about being available and caring. The need to fix and to solve gets in the way of being present for others. Most people don't need to be fixed. They need to be noticed. They need to be heard and valued. And ultimately, they don't want to be alone. Now and once wrote, "The friend who can be silent with us in a moment of despair or confusion, who can stay with us in an hour of grief and bereavement, who can tolerate not knowing, not healing, not curing, that is a friend who cares." Landmark number 4, take a long-term perspective. People generally don't change overnight, and neither do churches or other organizations. Good pastoral ministry follows the ancient wisdom that suggests that we plant small trees under whose shade we will never sit. So in your leadership and care and service, just know that small course corrections in body life make a long-term difference. Investments over time grow exponentially. And just know that whatever it is you put your time and your attention to will grow. That's how creation works. So invest in gifts and behaviors that are healthy in and for your community, and these things will grow and multiply over time. Take a long-term perspective. And last, landmark number 5, practice good self-care. Flight attendants regularly remind us when we are on airplanes, every time that we are on a flight. Prior to helping someone else, make sure your own oxygen mask is on first. We are not going to do the community any good if we try to serve from a place of exhaustion or depletion. So adapt for yourself a learning and growing posture and attitude that will serve the church as we discern together God's leading. It's better to inquire and to be curious than to work out of a place of certainty. People who are certain tend not to learn because they believe they already know. Some of the best self-care will likely involve ensuring that you are building into your life a discipline of listening, paying attention, learning, and growing. This posture serves you and your community well. They will grow with you. What are the 5 landmarks? Put Jesus into practice. Leaders are led. Care, don't cure. Take a long-term perspective and practice good self-care. These are good navigational landmarks for you as you journey together as a community of faith. It would be nice if we had a map, or even better, GPS, to find our way through this time. Instead, God gives us the Spirit and encourages us to watch, listen, and be present for one another and for a world that's in need. You are here for such a time as this. Just know that all of our training resources have presentation outlines, discussion guides, and resources for going deeper and beyond what has been presented. It's important for you to talk as a community, as a staff, as a team, about what you are hearing and learning and figuring out ways to apply it in your unique setting. The goal of Storehouse Resourcing, of course, is to encourage you, equip you, and empower you and your team for the betterment of your community of faith.